Hello everyone, this is Loose Emoji with blueandgold.com with Douglas Farmer and Andrew Owens and my colleagues here. It seems a long time ago that we were complaining about the playoff polls and where Notre Dame is ranked right now. Notre Dame coming off an overtime loss 43-40 to Northwestern. This was the one game in the November schedule where you said, okay, this one should be easy going, sir. A lot of controversial decisions, going for 2 points at 40-29. If you kick the extra point, 41-29, the 11 points only gets you to 40 there. Andrew, thoughts?
I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than baffling. Kelly said after the game that the chart that they use would say that typically you go for the one there, but they had so many issues with the kicking game and the holding that he felt like they should go for 2 there. I mean, we were talking up in the press box. We didn't think at that point that it would be such a critical decision, but you get it to 12 points. Northwestern has to score 2 touchdowns, and by going for 2 and missing, it's 11. They were able to go for 2, score a touchdown, go for 2, get it to 3, and then of course kick that field goal to take it overtime.
Up in the press box, when it was a start 11-point game and Northwestern was driving, not jokingly but offhandedly, we said, if they kick a field goal here, then we can ask Kelly why they went for 2. We just wanted to ask him. It wasn't that it ever thought, but certainly came around. And I'm baffled by the decision. You kicked a 42-yard field goal with the game on the line. You'd made the previous PAT. I find it hard to believe that it was simply a concern about the kicking game. To me, it's just a mathematical error.
I don't know if they just made a quick error trying to think of what. I mean, that's what I guess the other controversial decision with Notre Dame protecting a 3-point lead on their final possession in regulation, deciding to hand it off to Cam McDaniel. There was a pass interference call that gave Notre Dame a first down, and after a Northwestern timeout, the math was even if they nail it twice, then Northwestern would get the ball back with somewhere around 15-20 seconds. Instead, they give it to Cam McDaniel, who in those situations has been fantastic for Notre Dame and really been a rock carrying the football. He fumbled, Northwestern recovers, they kick the field goal to force overtime, and they of course win in overtime. Lou, I mean...
Yeah, they were out of timeouts, and I believe there was 128-132 remaining. So you do the mental arithmetic. Usually you can take 35 to 40 seconds off. So 128, you're looking at 88 seconds. If you can take 35 seconds with 2 straight plays, they can't call timeout, that's 70 seconds. That's about 18 seconds left. Maybe you pooch punt or something to that effect, but with no timeouts, even way back there at the 20, it gives you very little time.
You have to wonder if the kicking questions mattered there too, because they were on the fringe of Kyle Brin's field goal range, reliable field goal range if you have a hold in front of them.
I don't know if you kick there.
Right, exactly.
No,
even if they gain 3 yards, you could kick a field goal to force Northwestern to score a touchdown.
I don't think you kick a field goal there,
not nowadays, you don't. Not in the current situation.
Yeah.
No, pooch punt at best, but even that might have been a little bit risky. You get something wrong there. It wasn't the kicking game's finest hour overall right now. So you compound that now also with the defense. Now, going into this game over the last 4 games, Notre Dame was giving up 42 points a game. And they hit the 43 here today. And what exacerbates it is the last 4 games, Northwestern has averaged 12.5 points a game. They ranked 119th out of 125 football bowl subdivision teams. And every time they got the ball, you just felt that they were going to be able to move it well. Once Sheldon Day is out, obviously Joe Schmidt is hugely missed. I think especially setting the edge there. So many times last week against Arizona State, there were just so many runs to the outside. He always set that edge fairly well there. I mean, we know the losses with Kavari Russell and some of the safeties and everything, but they're kind of really running on diminishing returns right now on defense.
Yeah, this is an offense, Northwestern's offense, that has simply been inept this season. They hadn't scored 30 points all the season. Trevor Siemian, everyone talks about how he can't make the easy throws. Even in the first half, they're dropping passes left and right, and you think, okay, Notre Dame's going to run away with this, and it just never happened. And they had a big day rushing, 200-plus yards passing, rushing, and everything just sort of worked. Missed tackles. It felt like a very, I take this from John Walters on Twitter, but it was a very Weiss-era performance today.
Andrew, they weren't just dropping passes, they were dropping touchdowns. They were dropping wide-open touchdowns, and those numbers you referenced, 263 rushing yards on 48 carries. Their top 2 backs were averaging 6.5 yards or more per carry. and then 284 passing yards. They ran a total of 96 plays, and that's where you really start to feel some of those defensive injuries. Even today, Daniel Cage, we saw after the game, and what I described as a cumbersome leg brace on his left leg. Losing him and Day and Schmidt and Collinsworth is banged up, and Nicky Barati's been gone for so long. 96 plays and you're already thin. It's really starting to show that there's just nothing left.
No, the most disappointing aspect is that this did feel very much, you're going back to the Connecticut game of 2009, you're going back to Syracuse 2000.
All the snow and the overtime kind of make those two.
What especially, the last decade, we've used this phrase constantly, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And this was a textbook example of such a case. So the question now is, where do you go from here? Because right now, I have a tough time seeing them beat Louisville, and I definitely have a tougher time seeing them winning out at the Coliseum.
Brian Kelly said in the press conference a line that we heard a lot in 2010 and 2011, you can't start winning until you stop losing, and they're back to that, square one, so to speak. And you wonder about the motivation after they lose to Arizona State and they're out of the playoff hunt. Now they're out of the major bowl hunt. They have 3 losses, then 2 tough games coming up. They need to draw the motivation from within with 2 very good football teams still on the schedule the rest of this year.
The biggest glimmer of hope moving next week, Senior Day, Louisville home finale. I don't believe Brian Kelly has lost a Senior Day. That's the glimmer of hope they have. Send those seniors out with a win. We'll hear that all week. We'll hear them harping on that all week. Get past this. Send those guys out with a win. Send the Austin Collinsworths and the Matthias Farley, although he may come back. But send those guys out with a win. And that's what we'll hear all week. That's what we'll have online all week.
I think we've hit the nadir right now in the Brian Kelly era with this. In his first year when they lost to Tulsa here, and they had the 2 week off, and then they swept through November when everyone thought that perhaps they were just going to fold up. So that's the only hope you take right now, is they bounce back the same way. They've proven many times they can do that. But this is going to be a tough road to come back from. For Andrew Owens, Douglas Farmer, I'm Lou Simoji. Join us next week again for a recap after the Notre Dame-Louisville game.